This monster took advantage of her trust and her innocence. This parasite robbed us of every moment we could have had with Maddie.
Madeline Soto was my daughter. She was happiness. She was a joy to be around. She was quirky and intelligent. She was curious. A little forgetful like me too, that happens sometimes, but I just loved her so much. Because of the actions of this depraved man, I will never meet the woman she was becoming. And I can't grasp it. I can't grasp the selfishness of you, the deplorability of your actions. You're depraved. You're weak. You're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage and exploited them when they were weak.
Maddie was too good for the world, and she did not deserve any of this. Every time I close my eyes, I see his disgusting face. I can imagine what he did to her. I know every detail. I've read everything. I will never bring children into this world because of people like him, depraved, disgusting maggots just like him. He's not the only one. May God forgive him because I definitely do not. I please ask the court to prosecute him to the fullest extent. Show no mercy, exactly how he did Maddie. Justice for Maddie. Thank you.
Your Honor, the first will be a written statement from Madeline's maternal grandmother. Today I stand before you with a broken soul. I am Madeline's grandmother, but to her I was not grandma. Madeline always called me Mama. She decided that since she was little, and that's how I felt with her, like a second mother who loved her with all my heart. Madeline was a happy little girl. She loved going shopping with me. That excited her so much that it felt like everything around us turned into color. I remember her face lighting up when we went to the stores. Holding hands, laughing together in those moments, we connected, and I felt like she knew she was loved, protected, and valued. At night, we loved to play. It was in those moments, just before bed, that she laughed the most. Sometimes it's hard for me to close my eyes because I still hear her laughter. It was free, sweet, and sincere laugh, a sound I will never forget as long as I live. But that laughter was silenced by a horrific act, the very man who betrayed her trust, her innocence, her body. And if that wasn't enough damage, he took her life. Today I am here because Maddie can no longer speak, but I can as her grandmother. As someone who loved her with all that I am, I come to ask for justice for her memory, for everything she lived through and should never have lived through. Justice so that no one else has to go through such a horror. I will never forget Maddie.
I hear her laugh in my memories, and then I remember she's gone.
On February 25th of 2024, Madeline Soto celebrated her 13th birthday. The next day, on February 26th of 2024, Madeline Soto was reported missing by her mother, Jennifer Soto, after having gone to pick Maddie up from school and discovered that she had never arrived. 2 days later, on February 28th, an arrest warrant was issued for Stephen Stearns, who is Jennifer Soto's on-again, off-again boyfriend. Madeline's body was found on March 1st in a roadside wooded area, and Mr. Stearns was then charged with murder. Stephen Stearns' trial for the 20 counts of SA and battery of a minor was set to start this past Tuesday, July 22nd of 2025, with the murder trial to be set at a later date. All of these charges are eligible potentially for the DP, and Mr. Stearns had subsequently decided to take a plea deal. So on Tuesday, July 22nd of 2025, last Tuesday, the plea hearing was held. At the start of this video, we heard some clips of just a few of the many family members and loved ones who showed up for Maddie. They spoke provocatively and painfully of Maddie's life, her joyful spirit, and of the measurable weight of a future unfulfilled, all at the hands of a sniper laying in plain sight. And we also heard from someone who I'm about to play. This is a woman who was a roommate of Jennifer Soto, Maddie Soto, and Stephen Stearns at the time of Maddie's disappearance. During the investigation, it was discovered that Stephen Stearns had been photographing and filming this woman without her knowledge and, of course, without her consent.
How can I explain how this tragedy has impacted my life? There are so many emotions. I am an immigrant and I have lived in this country for 4 years. I left my country, Venezuela, alone with just a suitcase in my hand in search of a better future. I've always been against injustice, abuse, corruption, and evil in general. I couldn't picture myself living in a country where I had to witness every single day how a small, corrupt group destroyed countless families and the beauty of my nation. And that's exactly why it has been so devastating for me to experience something so tragic, so close to me after coming here with a hope for a better life. I ended up living under the same roof with a man who took a life of a 13-year-old girl, and with that shattered an entire family. What is the point of having dreams, plans, and opportunities if there is no life? If there is so much evil in the world? How can I explain what I felt and how this has affected me, especially considering that this same man took nude photos of my body without my consent, violating my privacy? I felt invaded, outraged, degraded, anguished, and absolutely shattered.
What was most conspicuous about this hearing was the absence of Jennifer Soto, Maddie Soto's mother. This would be unusual under all circumstances, but in this case in particular, it was especially notable because Jennifer Soto, since the beginning of this disappearance, has been a focal point due to her behavior, the things that she did, the things that she didn't do. Jennifer Soto had just gotten a job. And though Stephen and she had broken up, he was coming to stay with her and Maddie to help her. Because though Maddie was in school every day, and Jennifer certainly, as we saw at the hearing, has no shortage of family and friends to help her, Stephen was going to come into town and stay with them and bring Maddie to school and just make sure that Jennifer, in her words, got good sleep, because she really needed good sleep because she was starting this job. Now, just keep in mind that on the 25th, the day of Maddie's 13th birthday, Jennifer Soto did not have a full day of work. She had a day of training. It was a few hours. The next day, the day that she had Stephen Stearns take Maddie to school, which was almost unprecedented, she didn't work at all. She had a doctor's appointment later in the morning and another appointment later that day that she had canceled. So I don't understand why she didn't take her child to school that day. She missed Maddie's birthday party. That night, the night before Maddie disappeared, she sent Stephen Stearns and Madeline Soto to sleep together in a separate room so that she could get the good sleep for the job that she didn't have to go to the next day. And obviously, the question that arises most here is, how do you live with someone under the same roof for upwards of 7 years and not know that they are abusing your child? How do you allow someone who is essentially a stranger to come into your home, and how do you not know that they are abusing your 8-year-old, 9-year-old daughter, 10-year-old daughter, 11, 12, 13-year-old daughter? For 5 years. During the course of the investigation, one of, well, a few probably, but this one in particular that I'm about to play for you, Jennifer Soto's friends was interviewed. And during this interview, it's clear that although they had no inkling that he was capable of something like this, they were not particularly fond of Stephen Stearns.
And then she hooked up with that guy,
Okay.
Stefan. And I, again, just trying to remember, we probably knew them maybe another 4 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't like him.
You didn't like Stefan, or why not?
He was a scumbag.
Oh, yeah.
We knew. Not that he would do that.
Right.
Never. I never had that, But he didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't hold a job. Was proud about painting these stupid little plastic soldiers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, Oh my God, I was just like, I resented that he got, I don't know how he stayed alive. Most of us have to work. And I thought they had split up at that point.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought they had split up. And I know Courtney said at that point they were having some issues. And Courtney said to Jen, leave him. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't usually interfere in somebody's business like that.
Right.
But he was pretty bad enough that she was like, leave him.
Investigators clearly had a lot of the same questions that the public had. And here's an interview of Jennifer Soto before Maddie's body was found, the day after she has been shown images taken off of Stephen Stearns' phone of lewd and lascivious acts and assaults of her daughter by Mr. Stearns.
And I knew that was true, right? That's evidence. That's for real. That's happening. But I kept thinking, they're going. I don't know why I can't tell you why my brain kept thinking, no, he didn't kill her. Not that he didn't kill her, but she's still missing. She's still out there. She was taken. Yes, he's done this to her, and that's not okay. But I swore I felt in my body she was still alive. She was still out there.
Jennifer Soto's absence at this hearing and her silence at this hearing is shocking. It's shocking because it's not so shocking. Part of me almost thought that if she showed up to make a statement, she would ask the court for mercy for Mr. Stearns. She never quite seemed to get on board 100% with the fact that he was 100% responsible here. Although she also was not really taking any culpability. She said, how could I not notice? But she started saying that after, detectives were standing there looking at her with their mouths hanging open. I listened to a few different legal perspectives about this, and the general consensus is that it's very unusual for a mother not to show up to make a victim's impact statement at the hearing. of the sentencing for the person who murdered their child. But one attorney did say, and I'm mentioning this because all perspectives are important, that it is possible or probable, in his opinion, that Jennifer's counsel told her that anything not to show up at the hearing or make a statement because anything that she says can and will be held against her. Now, I don't know how a mother's grief can be held against her, but I do know that a good reason, and I know absolutely nothing, this is pure uneducated speculation, but I know that a good reason for not showing up at court is if you think you're going to get arrested. So, although this is Jennifer Soto, who doesn't need a good reason to not show up. She didn't show up for her daughter for the last half of her life. So, I'm not really surprised. I feel very sorry for Maddie's family, of course, her extended family. I feel sorry for the Stearns family, too. I mean, they raised their son as best they could. They cooperated with authorities. They handed over potential evidence. All of their conversations with their son after his arrest, while they were trying to come to terms with this and reconcile it in their minds, were made public and picked apart. And that must be incredibly painful. It must be a very lonely place to be. Although Jennifer was not there to make a statement, nor did she have someone make a statement for her, Stephen Stearns did make a statement. His would-be allocution, which sounded more like a victim's impact statement of his own. Let's have a listen.
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to make a brief statement. I agree that it's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I still have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around, a world which feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. But unfortunately, that's just not how he works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well, and she truly was a joy. I pray to God that she is in heaven and that he's taking good care of her. And I hope she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I will miss her all the time. I will never not honor her memory. And I apologize for all the pain.
This statement bolstered my belief that Stephen Stearns and those who commit crimes like his are of the mindset that they are misunderstood and their relationship with this child is misunderstood. They feel that this was a mutual engagement, that the child was consenting, if not seducing them. As he said to his parents on the phone, I didn't start this. And I've seen a lot of cases where people who commit these crimes against children feel as though the child is purposely alluring to them. The child is willfully seducing them. This is a phenomenon that I've discussed in the first video that I did about Maddie Soto and how, to a lesser degree, it exists in non-criminals as well. But to me, it seems as though Stephen Stearns knows that he can't try to explain his side of things because what he did is illegal, and he knows that too, although it certainly did not stop him. And the fact that he pled no contest to the murder, I can only assume is because he does not have clear evidence on his phone of him committing that crime. He seems to want to allude to the fact that it was accidental or that it wasn't by his hands, but it's safe to say that when somebody is dumping a body, a crime was committed. Dumping the body alone is a crime. You have to get a coroner involved. What continues to amaze me about these criminals that we study is how concerned they are with their public image. And I mean, most of the time, more often than not, they are the Stephen Sterns of the world, unemployed, hapless, lost, at least to some degree. We're not talking about the CEO of Fortune 500 company here where they have a reputation to uphold, although that happens too. But it's these types who seem to be so concerned with what people will think of them. And I find that very interesting because it's not like these crimes happen most of the time, certainly in the cases I'm thinking of, happen in a split second. These are crimes that went on for days, weeks, months, years. Plenty of time to self-reflect. Plenty of time to, if not right the wrong, stop the wrong. Yet here they are, offended, really. They seem embarrassed, not to be confused with ashamed. We've all done things that we would not want to be defined by. Of course, they're not illegal things, generally speaking. I'm talking about little things that we all do throughout our lives. There are people who don't recycle, who wouldn't want to be seen as someone who doesn't care about the environment. I don't want to be seen as somebody who buys jewelry at CVS, but things happen. What I do know is that nothing will be unearthed about me that will put me in prison. I have never willfully, knowingly, joyfully harmed anyone or any animal. To most of us, the thought of doing that is painful. The thought of doing that, being caught, and being embarrassed or being concerned with what people are going to think of you is bonkers. It's just ridiculous. I mean, at no point can these people do at the point where it's most important, after all of the wrong that they've done, they never do the right. They never admit guilt, tell investigators where the body is. They never, after all of their evil deeds, or very rarely, I shouldn't say never, but very rarely do they put their own ego, self-image concerns aside and do the right thing. Stephen Stearns is now going to spend the rest of his life, however long that may be, in prison. And we will see what happens with Jennifer Soto. I would say that the most prevalent lesson learned here, because the lesson that Stephen Stearns should have learned, we're dealing with, as that family friend said, a maggot. I mean, this is just evil among us. This exists, unfortunately, which is why it's very important to be aware. It doesn't have to be your child. It doesn't even have to be a child. But if you get a sense that something wrong is going on, and I know I'm speaking to the converted here because we are all extremely diligent. I mean, sometimes perhaps more than we should be. I was once taking a bath, and my neighbor downstairs heard the running water for a while. And I found this out because my doorbell was ringing, and I opened it, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine." And she said, I heard the water running, because I never run the bath water, so I guess she was like, "What's going on there?" I heard the water running for longer than I ever hear it. And I watch a lot of ID, and I immediately started thinking that you were being drowned, or that you were drowning, or that something happened. And I said, "Let me stop you right there. You did the right thing. I would do the same. It's okay." Thank you for watching. I will see you very, very soon. Bye.